Good evening. Welcome to another video here on this Esoteric Circle YouTube channel. My name is Pete Haskins, and one of the people who inspired me to do this project, this channel of Esoteric Circle, along with Charles Ashton, was a man named Robin Amos. Robin Amos, extremely influential man in my life, and that's why I'm sharing Robin and his writings and his influence with you. So this video is to continue to talk about Robin, maybe introduce him in a little bit different way. We're going to be teaching Robin's book, A Different Christianity, on our Discord channel. So if you're interested, let me know. But just sit back and enjoy some of the early writings of Robin Amos and see what kind of person this is who was considered a fellow worker by monks at a monastery on Mount Athos. So thank you so much for being here with me. Blessings to you on your journey, and it's great having you here. To understand a little bit about where Robin is coming from, I wanted to read the introduction to Views from Mount Athos, which is a little-known book that Robin wrote, and he and Lillian published toward the end of Robin's life, and it is about his trips to Mount Athos. He took over 60 trips and studied diligently, consistently, persistently with a group of monks at a certain monastery in Mount Athos, and was considered a fellow worker. So when we study Robin, we are dealing with someone who put the work in. And that's why this is fascinating to me, as Robin combines the Fourth Way movement and Orthodox Christianity. That's the thing that this whole channel focuses on, this combination of the modern Fourth Way movement with Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, and uses Robin Amos and uses Boris Moraviev in particular, along with people like Ted Nottingham or Bucky Nottingham, to kind of enhance what we know, Maurice Nicole, different things, different writers. And in the preface to this, I want to read this to you because it gives a little historical background regarding where Robin is coming from. World War II has ended, and people were returning from the war and were trying to get their lives back together, and so much pain and destruction and violence had been unleashed. The Cold War had not yet begun, and there was just so much turmoil and pain and suffering and sadness over this years of war that had encompassed Europe, and Britain almost almost fell to Germany. It's just an amazing sense. We have no idea what they were going through. So Robin writes this: the World War was over. Whole areas of London lay in ruins, and the city was still almost war dark at night, and almost empty of people, the returned combatants still wanting only to stay home with their families. A few people came and went. In parts of the empty city center that were almost unmarked by war, some 30 or more young men and women gathered in the evenings and began questioning. They had missed going to university because they were not properly prepared. Their families were bankrupt by 2 wars, and the soldiers had first call on university places. They began not by questioning a ruined society, but by questioning themselves, not by drinking alcohol, but in the coffee bars that were beginning to spring up in the city, places called the Nucleus, the Bungees, and small cheap restaurants. They formed plans for their seedling lives, for which no seedbed had been prepared. Each tested this and that occupation until in time they discovered something they could not do that was useful and which earned a couple of pounds a week, which would pay tube fares and buy a cheap meal. They were by accident non-specialists in a world forced into specialization by 2 wars in less than half a century. They asked the questions of non-specialists, but without tutors, discussion groups, and organized by their elders, or any of the elaborate education facilities that non-specialists of the previous or later decades received. As one of these non-specialists turning to discover ourselves, and also, in my case, to discover the roots of our failed civilization, my own solution was to turn my investigation towards the earliest form of Christianity I could find. In this, the least changed remnant of the original faith that was accessible to me, I discovered on Mount Athos, the still feudal monastery or monastic community on a mountainous peninsula of northern Greece, and was there that I found not only friends with common understanding, but also answers to my questions. For example, the doorbell that once rang when I first visited the Skeet of St. Andrew and obtained no answer was symptomatic of the long silent church bells of St. Andrew's. It represents the appeal our hearts make to our own selves, an appeal most people in the modern world have forgotten how to answer. For today we forget that we habitually protect our hearts from displeasure, and because we forget this, we wonder why we feel no joy. We have forgotten our hearts by selling ourselves for the security of a steady income, sacrificed our talents for the comforts that technology can bring, fixed our future in the trustee investments that bind our lives instead of setting us free. And in all these ways, we wonder why nothing new happens to us. This was the thing that drew me close to Robin, was this investigation and this personal journey. That's why the Joseph Campbell stuff and the hero's journey still resonates with me, and a lot of you as well. But you understand where I'm coming from? There's this sense of an investigation, because I've been through the church. I've done this Protestant stuff. I've searched and nothing satisfied me. And when I met Charles Ashton, and then through Ted Nottingham and Rebecca Nottingham, I met Robin, and I was like, yes, this is the guy. So in 2000, when I met Robin at the Open Center in New York City, and I heard his lecture there, and then was invited to the retreats at Three Barns in Devonshire, and I went 3 times. This is the guy. I'm like, this is what I want. I already had a mentor in Charles Ashton, but this is the guy I wanted to learn from as well. This was going to be this guy that was like, here it is. Are you going to do this? Are you going to work hard? He talks about this in this preface, this ability to work hard, to work past our displeasures, to be able to work past an absence of technology, an absence of air conditioning, absence of the right food that we want, all these conveniences that we have in this world, to be able to inconvenience ourselves. In this book, Views from Mount Athos, which is found on their praxisresearch.net or on Amazon, it talks about these journeys, these 60 some odd journeys. Although he wrote it in 1988, the journey started in 1982, and he would end up taking over 60. And that's the thing that this whole channel and everything I'm talking about is about, you and your personal journey. And this is a glimpse into this man's personal journey, right? Every one of us is different. And hopefully you get it, and you get your journey, and you're like, I got to keep searching. And it is an investigation. All of this is. This is all an investigation. All these books that I have, these are like clues that you get. And you're like, oh, I got to go through here. Because one of the things that he talks about in that book, A Different Christianity, is how each one of us need to go out and make Christianity relevant to our world today, because our civilization is deteriorating. It is broken. It is falling apart. And we need people to jump out into it and say, let's make Christianity relevant. And that's what Ted Nottingham has told me. We have to make Christianity relevant. We don't want to just say, well, let's go back to Mount Athos and everyone be a monk. We're not talking about that. That's one of the reasons the fourth way is so amazing to me is it jumps out into society without the protection from the influences that a monastery has. We have to jump out every day, don't we? You have to get out there in this world and earn a living. And you have to learn how to do this, and you have to make these issues of metanoia and hesychasm and nepsis, you have to make those relevant in your own life. And that's what Robin is doing here. He did it. This huge effort, without these huge, enormous efforts, you get nowhere. But that's our task, is to investigate so that we can make Christianity relevant to our world today. That's our job. All right, another reading here. Hope you got some coffee or something to eat here and sit back and listen. This is just a few paragraphs into the first chapter of this book entitled Views from Mount Athos. Chapter 1, the search begins. Remember, investigation. My investigation, he says, into Athos, my pilgrimages to the Holy Mountain, really began when I received in the post a typescript copy of a talk between a visiting Englishman and a monk on the Holy Mountain of Athos. The whole extraordinary conversation, which the visitor had been given information which clearly shaped the direction of his life, began by describing an earlier conversation on Mount Athos. At that time, I had never been further east than Paris. Yet the strange thing was that I felt as if I recognized the speaker by the way that he spoke. It was like remembering a long-forgotten friend, with all the happiness this can involve. I could never justify the statement intellectually. I did not then know this monk, or his monastery, or even the person to whom he had been speaking. Who could it be that his words reminded me of? My mind turned back to the time several years before when I had begun to read about Mount Athos. I read that the monk of Mount Athos was once told by an inner voice to, quote, keep thy soul in hell and despair not. And the effort to do so had clearly been a major factor in the change that made a simple peasant into a saint. In this phrase lives the whole essence of monasticism. Now, in finding signs of another such man, I was becoming aware of something which was to change the direction of my own life. Such men have a special significance in the religion of Mount Athos, for the key to Athonite religion is not in concept and doctrine, but in the way a person's being determines their actions. On Athos, there are certain men known as elders, men who have persisted long in certain spiritual practices. Their very nature has been transformed as a result. Such men rarely exist in everyday Western society. Even in our many churches, such men are incredibly rare if they exist at all. On Athos, such a man is regarded as an elder. The word is in Russian starets, in Greek geron, a term often used for the abbot of an Athos monastery, such as Father George of the 700-year-old monastery of Gregoria, an old man, a man of deep experience. Clearly, there is more to being than a geron, than mere age. The difference can be fully understood only by experience, only by meeting such a man. But the paradox of Athos is that here repeatedly the possibility of a change for the better is found in things that are unchanging, and in the recognition that the same change of personality had been revealed in the words of two different men. Here I was, without at first realizing it, touching on two of the great mysteries of Christianity. One is the mystery of redemption, the other the innermost meaning of paradoxus. the Orthodox Christian concept of tradition. He then goes on to say here, this is another little chapter here. The first visit, departure. Weighed down by papers and with ankles thickened and blotched red by mosquitoes, we left the ancient Greek city of Thessalonica early in the day, heading for Arenapolis, which means Heaven City, population 700 with 2,000 plus beds in season. A 4-hour, 140-kilometer bus journey, first across the dry Macedonian plain, then winding high into the oak and chestnut-forested Holomandas Mountains, back down into the more hospitable coastal plain and on to the lowland connecting the Acti Peninsula on which Mount Athos is situated. In Arenapolis, we gathered more information, together with some of the many items that experienced Athos travelers suggested. Map, matches to light the oil lamps, medical supplies, a small reserve of food. Finally, Sunday, September the 19th, 1982 was the day. I had once again passed through the initial problems, overcoming my unwillingness to travel to unfamiliar places and to trust myself to an unfamiliar and in some ways archaic culture. Overcome once, resistances may become weaker, but they must be overcome many times before they disappear. Yet these unwillingnesses are the pilgrimages, the pilgrim's greatest strength, rather. How could one grow if one had nothing to give up? At this stage, I had only made initial efforts to open up communication with the monks upon the mountain. I regarded these as the first 2 steps or stages on my pilgrim's way. One thing I quickly discovered on this way is that, allied to our overall Western habit of wanting always to predict and control our environment, modern man is a slave to comfort. Yet if you give up your comfort once on the path of pilgrimage, you find you must give it up 1,000 times. Before all this, I once played a part in a research program which showed a clear correlation in individuals between a dogmatic need for uncertainty and what in our Western world are called neurotic states. Now this was confirmed for me in a more personal way as I discovered how a constant repetition of the need to give up our certainties can, like dripping water, wear its own path through the stone of our worldly hearts. By this repetition, one briefly enters the path of the monk in an inward way, even when we must remain committed to the world outwardly. It is change of heart, metanoia, nowadays translated repentance, which is most important. One may fall short of the monk's self-conquest externally, and it does not matter. What matters is cleaning the inside of the cup. And that's from Matthew 23:26. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. So, I wanted to introduce you to the absolutely epic journey that this man made. And I wanted to share this with you. It's on Amazon, it's on praxisresearch.net, and it is a journey which you take with him, and you realize that each of us, you and I both, we have to make this journey. And this is a very personal journey. And that's the age that we are living in. Each of us, we are on the hero's journey. You are on it. And you are an investigator. And you are investigating this. And you are gathering up clues. And you are reading this author, and you are hearing this video, and you are going here, and you're searching for a teacher. You're searching for a teacher, and you find that teacher, and you're sent off by yourself, and you desire to share it, but you're an investigator. And don't forget what an epic journey you are on. Because just as Robin is telling us, we're not meant to just jump into Moraviev or Robin or anybody. We're meant to make this stuff relevant to our age. Right? We've got to get out there and share this. And the way we do that is allow God to work through our own personalities. We're not robotic in this. We're not just trying to soak up all this intellectual knowledge and regurgitate it. We're supposed to allow it to work through us, through our own personalities, our own quirks, our own oddness. We're supposed to be our own people. And that's the job. But you're an investigator. You're investigating this. And you're allowing it to become relevant to your age and your day. You are important to this. You are important to this world. Remember how important you are to this. Okay? You're awesome. Blessings to you. Like I said, it's on praxisresearch.net or amazon.com. Rob and Amos, Views from Mount Athos and a Different Christianity. Blessings to you on your epic hero's journey. Thank you. I'll see you soon.